So I'm going to present a little bit about solving a big problem. And the problem that we really want to solve is medications and medication errors. We all take medications, be it a Tylenol or an aspirin. So what I'm going to show you is a solution that our company built that uses natural language processing and machine learning to predict the side effects from drugs, the seriousness of those side effects, and drug interactions using data from Health Canada and the US FDA. A little bit of selfless promoting here. This is me, Sebastian. Please, I've been in the industry for many, many years. I'm the founder and CTO of OTICS Advanced Analytics. We're a small but growing company in the AI and machine learning space here in Toronto. My background, my area of focus actually in school was in multi-agent-based systems, which is a branch of artificial intelligence. Really exciting stuff happening in agent-based computing. And we're going to show you a little bit how that's applied in drug, in medication medication error detection and adverse reaction detection. So I'm glad, Adam, you've got a drug discovery meetup in a couple of weeks. So consider me as a warm-up act. Okay. A little bit of the agenda, problem statement, background, some challenges in the healthcare industry. So this is really focused on healthcare, right? We're going through some challenges in the industry today. And so this app is, or this technology is really used to empower all of us that, take drugs or take medications over the counter or prescribe drugs, but using AI and machine learning to have the app tell you what are the potential side effects that you may experience with this medication, the seriousness of those side effects, and whether that drug is going to interact with other drugs. I'm a data scientist by trade and nature, so I'm going to go through the approach and methodology of how we solve this problem, and some of the discussions on data from Health Canada and the FDA. What sort of machine learning models did we formulate mathematically? Then we're going to get to the final product, which is called the Intelligent Patient Care app that I'm going to demo as well, some conclusions and the demo of the app. This is where we're going to get to, right? So you guys just hang in for about 15 minutes. So the final product really is 3 use cases, right? So we've integrated this into the Android and Apple app. It's available right now. Everyone can download it. It's free. So what this app will do is, as I mentioned, analyze data, unstructured textual data, and predict the drugs that'll interact with that medication. So this drug is a atorvastatin, which is a statin for if you have chronic heart disease. Side effects of the medications, which is the second visual of the app. And again, if you're taking a medication or you're planning to take a medication, this would kind of tell you, based on the historical data that we've looked at from other people that have taken similar medication, what side effects you're likely to encounter, right? So we're going to tell you what model we use for that, and you're probably going to guess it's a classification model. And then number 3 is the seriousness of those side effects. So if you do have those side effects, are they likely to be serious or not? And, Health Canada, while the data is a bit, choppy, there is a lot of data that Health Canada mandates drug manufacturers to report on when they sell drugs in Canada, and similar to the US as well. So this is where we're going to get to, but just hang on for 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, so again, what are we trying to solve? And what we're really trying to solve is empowering people to help improve their health and well-being with data-driven insights, right? And again, we all take medications. We all have concerns and anxiety about medications. And given the state of the healthcare system in Canada, where it's overburdened, physicians are burned out, et cetera, it becomes difficult for a doctor or a medical professional to spend time on you. Right, so patient care is extremely important in Canada. To help provide you and the people that use our technology. And again, this app is just part of our suite of products. It's not the entire company, but really just to help you with AI and machine learning, be more proactive with your health, right? And that's what we're after, getting more people to be more active and take an active participation in the medications that they're taking and the likely impacts of those medications. The other thing that we're trying to solve is once you actually solve the machine learning problem of predictions, how do you deliver it? So here we'll show you, of course, how do you, if millions of people use the app, well, how are you going to deliver those predictions to those millions of people using the app? The app's got to be cross-platform. It's got to run on Apple platform. It's got to run on the Android platform. It's got to be low cost, free. It's got to be real time. It's got to maintain privacy for people. Privacy is huge in both US and Canada. And how do we update the app with medication information, right, that we find? Okay, lots of words here, but there's a lot of challenges in maintaining quality healthcare in pretty much every country, right? So a couple of areas that I really want you to focus on is, for medication errors, 1 million serious medication occurs every year in the US, right? And that's a similar number in Canada as well. And this is due to, again, physicians not spending time on you, nurses giving you the wrong medication, perhaps not understanding that you're allergic to some medications. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, and who gets hurt is the patient. Of course, we all know that the healthcare system costs a lot of money, and medication errors account for about 1% of global health expenditures, or $42 billion. So medication errors is a big problem. Inadequate staffing. We know that the healthcare system is inadequately staffed. Quality, we talked about. I mentioned physician burnout, right? Physicians are working 120%, 110%, if not more. Dealing with a lot of different patients, a lot of different portfolios. How can they spend time on you, right? And of course, home healthcare is also important. Nurses are coming to your homes and taking care of you at your homes, right? Because we're all getting older. Okay, so those are some of the key challenges. What are some of the approach and methodology on how we solve the problem of predicting side effects for medications and the other cases? So we looked at different modeling approaches, but what we did settle on is a multi-label, multi-class model. The data that we used was data from Health Canada, Vigilance Adverse Reaction Database, and also the US FDA MedWatch data. And as I mentioned, in federal law mandates manufacturers of drugs to report adverse reactions from the drugs that people have taken, right? So that's a federal law. Users of that medication and hospitals can still report to Health Canada or the FDA, but they're not mandated to report on any adverse reactions that you get from taking a medication. Okay, just going to keep an eye on the clock here. So again, what we really tried to do is try to use official data, right? And you can't get more official than government source data. So we've got historical data, and the problem with the historical data that we use from Health Canada is that it's unstructured data, right? And machines, as we know, understand only numbers. So the first thing that we had to do is we had to convert the textual data into numeric form, right, for a computer to analyze. Second, we built the classification models for each medication using our technology MADS, which is an auto machine learning technology, which is able to find optimal algorithms for the data that we feed it in a matter of minutes, right? So we're reducing the amount of work that goes into actually estimating the model. We automate that with MADS. Once we found the optimal model, we used another technology called MADS hyperpredictions that actually that has a Java connector and a Swift connector that we can actually call the algorithm from the app in an Apple app or Android app, and then get back a prediction really quickly. So within less than a second. And then with MADS, we were able to build individual machine learning models for each of the medications that we've analyzed, which accounted for about 3,000 optimal algorithms that we found. So it's just a way to sort of accelerate, right, the data science work that we do, and our technology is one way to do that. Okay, a little bit more discussion on the data. So the data, again, as I mentioned, is unstructured data, and it's not very clean. If you look at the data yourself, there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of missing rows. Things are not labeled properly, and that's not a surprise, obviously. A lot of the work that data scientists do, about 60-70%, is data preparation and data cleaning, and that's what we had to do. So we wrote Python code, custom Python code to actually analyze the data that we downloaded from Health Canada and FDA, and we wanted to make sure that it didn't contain any duplicates or had any missing data. There were a minimum of 3 months of data. So we looked, the data range actually ranged from 3 months for some medications to 20 years. So, some medications, they don't have that much history, and other medications have been around in Canada since 1950s, right? And then we wanted to make sure that things were not mislabeled in the data. Okay, so once the data was prepared and finished, so MADS converted that textual data into numeric form. So the MADS actually comes with a Python library. So if you Google MADS Python, you'll see pip install MADS. And we use a function in there called NLP Classify. So NLP Classify is a really cool function to take textual data and then basically convert it into numeric form, right? So a machine can look at it and analyze it. And it could do that in a matter of seconds. So once NLP Classify automatically converted the data to numeric form, it sent it to the MADS training function to find the optimal algorithm. So we automated that whole data science pipeline of getting the data, prepping the data, feeding it into, or converting it from numeric, from textual to numeric, putting it into MADS for training, and getting the optimal algorithm. So once we have the algorithm, we're ready to use it for predictive analytics, right? And that's the last piece here. So once we had all these algorithms generated, we put it into MADS hyper predictions, which can be called from Android or from Swift to get our prediction. Right? And that's the way and I'll show you the architecture of how we did that pretty seamlessly. Okay. So what does the machine learning models look like? So as I mentioned, there were 3 groups of models that we analyzed. The first group, as I mentioned, the group of predicting side effects for medications. The other group was predicting the seriousness of side effects for medications. And the third group was predicting drug interactions. The dependent variable and the independent variables were constructed for each of the groups. And then again, what we're doing here, what we're really after is predicting probabilities of group 1, which is the most likely to least likely side effects that I'm going to experience if I were to take Tylenol, right? And it'll graph it for you. And then group 2 is what is the probability of the seriousness of my side effects if I were to experience them taking this medication. And then group number 3 is the probability from most likely to least likely of drugs that are likely to interact with the drug that I'm taking. Okay, so those are three groups or 3 use cases that we looked at. So again, this is a bit of a data sciencey stuff, but I think it's important for us to kind of see it. These models obviously vary widely in the data science world. So this one particular model always starts off with, or the fundamentals of models always start off with a dependent variable and independent variable. So the dependent variable is the variable you're trying to explain. The independent variables are the influencing factors on that dependent variable. So for group number 1, the healthcare data that we looked at had side effects. So we had to classify every side effects for each of the symptoms that we wanted to look at. For group number 2, again, we're predicting the seriousness, and nicely enough, the Health Canada data and FDA data actually tell you whether the symptom is serious or not serious. So there you go. You can classify that into a 1 or 0 or 1 or 2 as to serious or not serious for the computer to analyze it. And group number 3 is, again, we had to classify all the medications. Right, so a lot of work, but again, we automated the majority of the process. And then the independent variables for group number 1 was gender, age, your dosage form, how you took the medication, what environment you're in, the amount of your dosage, and how many other drugs you're taking. Group number 2, similar. The only difference is how many other drugs you're taking and the symptom category. And then group number 3 for drug interaction is what is your gender and age. Okay, the main rationale. So there was a presentation on research, on doing research. Research is a big part of model building, right, and data science. So I guess the question people can ask is, what was your rationale for choosing those variables? So we had to do a bit of research in medical journals, right? Looked at some of the cause and effects of medication to adverse reactions. We use research that focus on medication errors. We use government published literature as well to kind of understand, again, the cause and effect between medications and symptoms and side effects. We also had to consider the data itself. And the data was not very clean, and again, not a surprise. And we wanted to use weight and height, but a lot of the data on weight and height was unrecorded. So it was actually missing about 70% of the data. So we decided not to use weight and height in our models. Okay. So again, we settled on the variables that had 80% of the data filled in. And again, keep in mind that when the data goes to Health Canada, I mean, some administrative person is entering that data, right? Training's data set was 75-25. We did cross-validation to find the optimal parameters in our algorithm using a random grid search. We used MADS, of course, to find the best algorithm using a metric called ROC, Receiver Operating Characteristics, which is a metric for classification models to determine which is the best model for us. Some results now. We're almost to the end. So the model accuracy that we had for all these algorithms that we looked at, that we generated, was about 55 to 90%. And of course, that varied based on the amount of data that you had and how clean the data was, etc. Group number 2, which was predicting the seriousness of the side effects, had the highest ROC metric. More data led to higher ROC. Total runtime for MADS to find the optimal algorithm for a lot of data for each medication was about 20 to 50 minutes to get that algorithm, which is that needle in the haystack. And then from the Android and Apple app, and when you call the algorithm from the app, you can get the prediction back in about less than a second. Okay. All right, so this is sort of the architecture, what it looks like, and don't get scared. This is easier than it looks to interpret, but use the big numbers there, so 1, 2, and 3. So if you start from the bottom, number 1, of course, as I mentioned, we have a platform that's MADS and that's built to find optimal algorithms. It can run on the cloud and on-prem, etc. But once it finds the optimal algorithms, it puts those algorithms in an algorithm server. Right? So you have all these different algorithm servers, backup servers for redundancy. So that's step number 1, get the algorithms. Step number 2 is what we do is we use Apache Zookeeper and Kafka to actually manage our algorithms. And this Kafka is a really great technology, and we're actually one of the first companies to use Kafka for algorithmic management. So number 2 is, with Kafka, there's a concept of producers and consumers. So the producer, when users go onto the app and you want to say, hey, what's the side effects? Well, you're a producer. And that data comes to a technology called MADS Viper. So Viper is a technology that actually takes that information, publishes into a Kafka topic, and then it's there forever, right? That's the beauty of Kafka. And then when you want to get the prediction back, you're also a consumer, right? So then the MADS Viper sends that prediction back to your app so that you can visualize the predictions really quickly. So 1, 2, and 3, the training, the production, and the consumption using Apache Kafka. And this is really neat because now we can scale our algorithms to 10,000, 100,000, doesn't really matter. That's the beauty of Viper and Kafka working together. Okay, I'm almost at the end. So the app can be downloaded. It's available on. It's free, as I mentioned. Anyone can use it. Please, try. It's really there to help you, right? Really there to empower you. And physicians are looking at it as well to use it. So it's kind of neat. Some conclusions. So again, as I mentioned, medication use and errors are on the rise in Canada. As I mentioned, people die from this, right? And so it's a serious, serious problem, which doesn't get much media attention. Healthcare in almost all countries is overburdened. I mean, our physicians, nurses are doing a great, great job, but they're overworked. So anytime machinery and technology can help them, great. Using AI and machine learning, of course, can help people. Using AI and machine learning can help to provide people who are taking or considering taking medication. It allows you to be more proactive, right? So it allows you to really take ownership of your health and well-being, as opposed to picking up a phone or emailing your doctor, which likely you won't get a response back in a few hours, likely it'll be a week or two. Help improve your health and well-being, reduce the anxiety on medications that you're thinking of taking, and really help people initiate evidence-based conversations with their medical providers, right? It'd be really important for, if you're having a problem, tell your doctor that, hey, look, this is what, the app is telling me. What do you think about it? Now you've got data to back up what your assertions are, as opposed to ad hoc. And again, as AI and ML practitioners, and I'm a big believer in this, we should all strive to find ways to improve human life and reduce inefficiencies in society with data and insights. So the app is kind of, we're interesting conversations with a couple of groups. The Canadian Patient Safety Institute is looking into it, Jerry Medris and Amazon. Okay, so as I mentioned, let me just quickly, I know I got a few minutes, Adam, but this is the app. So this is basically the Android simulator that we've got running. So I'm just going to go through one use case on drug interaction. So this agreement here, again, this is not a replacement for physicians, right? This is giving you decision support. And again, the other thing in this agreement is, don't use it for commercial use, or use it for your personal use. And if you are going to use for commercial use, please ask OTICS. And the last thing is privacy. We want to really harp on the fact that we don't use any personal information. No GPS information is recorded. This is completely anonymous. It's just meant to help people. So once you hit accept, so if you choose a medication here, choose anyone. There's quite a bit. Rationale. Choose that one. You can choose your age. Say I'm 20 years old, maybe a male. Well, I am a male. Hit drug interactions. So the Android simulator sometimes gets a little finicky. There you go. So now you've got result data, right? Or you've got a visualization for what does this actually mean? Now, if you were to click explain chart, what the explain chart will tell you is that for Rationale, for male 20, the top drugs that are likely to interact with Rationale is amlodipine, which is, and the numbers in brackets are probability distributions, antigen, Norvasc, vitamin D, metformin, and again, Lipitor. These are drugs that the algorithm has looked at in historical data, pushed it through the algorithm that's specifically built for Rationale, and then predicted what are the most likely to least likely drugs to interact with Rationale. Okay. And again, this is completely free. Please, you can download it on any of the devices, but play around with it, and see what information, see what drugs you're taking potentially. Hope you're not, but if you are, this is, could be a great little tool to give you more information. And again, if you click here, you can actually let's do predict side effects. See what happens here. Say I'm taking a drug, Buterol. Let's select the dosage amount, say granular form. How did you take the medication? Say oral form. What environment you're in? I'm in the community. What is the dosage form? 1.5 milligrams. So this is all going into the algorithm that you're providing data for. And then here, predict next. There you go. See how, it's fairly quick. So again, these are the likely side effects that you may experience for albuterol, which is asthma, dyspnea, cough. Drug is likely ineffective for some people, wheezing, fatigue, headaches. So you get the point. Again, using AI and machine learning to really empower people with information. And I think this is, one of many examples that I think healthcare could really use to improve our health and well-being. And of course, we can, all of us to improve our health and well-being in these times. Well, that's it, Adam. I think that's pretty much. And again, if you guys have any questions on any of this, you can always reach out to me, LinkedIn or email. I'm happy to help anybody with any questions that they may have, and how we did this. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, I really appreciate that. We have a question from Wilco, which is, can the ML models be generalized across other regions outside Canada with the same level of accuracy, given that people in other regions can respond differently to drugs given, say, lifestyle, environment, type of food they eat?
Yeah, so all of the information, so if you think about it this way, that's a good question, Wilco, thank you. We're all humans, right? We all have similar physiology, of course. The nice thing that the app does is it allows you to use those characteristics of us, male, age, dosage amount, all these different characteristics go into the algorithm. So the answer to your question is yes, you can generalize it, because the way that the inputs go into the algorithm actually can be applied to anyone in the world, right? You're a male, you're a female, or other, how you're taking the medication, what medication you're taking, what symptoms you're taking. If you're human, you can use the app.